All right, good morning. Day four? Four. Today's day 4. I got lazy on you last night. We got in a serious groove of cutting tile, and so we cut all these edges. I talked about it at the wrap of yesterday's video. And so today, Mike and I are gonna do a more complicated area, the air compressor room here, and finish up this area. So we'll stop and I'll get the information out of Mike. He'll help us kind of think through and talk about how to make some of these more intricate cuts as we work through this. But it's gonna be a little dark in the closet, but I think this one will be of value to help us through finishing up doing the more sophisticated cuts in Swisstrax. We're using a circular saw on a table to cut this stuff. And luckily we have a disposable table to cut on, so it works out great. All right, so let's get moving. Okay, so here's how we do it. This is never how to, this is how I. So first thing you've got to figure out is what's the orientation of the tile. This is where you can make a lot of mistakes, right? You make a mistake, you cut the tile wrong. This is $6.80. If you get lucky, you cut the wrong, you cut the wrong side of the tile and you can use it on the other side of the room. But this section here, we need to lay out the tile like so we know loops are going that way and that way, right? The loops are always going to go out toward the door. We know that because we did backwards, the backwards setup of the edge pieces. So then these walls aren't straight. Pretty much no walls are straight. So you're generally gonna have to take two dimensions or two measurements. And the first mistake you're gonna make is you're gonna measure here and then measure on the front side of the tile. You don't wanna do that. We need to cut this end off. And so we're gonna flip around and measure on the back side. And so our first measurement, I do 7 3/4 plus 1. What is that?
7 13/16.
Yeah. 7 3/4 plus 1. On this side of the tile, and then we come to the other edge, 7 3/4 minus 1.
7 11/16.
Yeah, 7 3/4.
That looks like 6 11/16.
Oh yeah, shoot. Yeah, you're right. 6 3/4 plus 1. Let me make sure I got that right.
I think you got it off an inch.
I didn't. We're not doing a good tutorial here. This is why I said this is how we do it. 6 3/4 plus 1.
So what I do is transfer your lines to the straight edge.
Yeah, you're not guaranteeing my lines. No guaranteeing craftsmanship.
I'm gonna cut it where you marked it. Let's just say that.
That's not a good attitude to have. So you could cut this with a table saw. You could go get a tile cutter, but I'll show you here. We don't have a table saw or a tile cutter. We're cutting it with a.
So what I do
with a blade.
I set it blade depth, tile depth, right? Because we're cutting on this plywood. So tile depth, which is just about 3/4, and I just go slightly more.
So you obviously wouldn't want to do this on your sauna.
Right, so that way we're just scoring the plywood. So what I do is when I do this, I get a sacrificial piece of plywood to cut everything on. It makes it easier if I'm using this.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we know we're
and then you just wipe it off and you're good to go. And you get a nice, clean, sharp edge. So every edge that we've done in here is good.
Yep.
And so, I mean, a tile cutter is gonna be maybe a few seconds quicker. But if you can't get a hold of one of those, it doesn't make, even for a garage this big, I wouldn't spend $600 on a tile cutter.
The nice thing about this too is you can make cuts that are not square easier than you can on a tile saw.
Yeah.
Or on a, type of chopper you're using.
Okay, let's go pop it in. So this is really helpful when you have a couple of people because you can have one guy cutting. Actually, if you have 3 people, it's kind of the perfect setup. You can have one person cutting,
running back,
or one person measuring, one person running back and forth and popping tiles in, and one person cutting. So my measurements were good, Mike.
Yep.
Second try.
You mean my cut was good?
Well, if you cut the wrong measurements, then
you're right.
It doesn't do any good.
I picked the middle of your line.
That's good. I like that. And so this is another common question is, do you cut it tight? Do you cut it with a gap? We're in Atlanta here. Normally you don't have extreme temperature changes, but if you cut it tight, like this tight here, technically speaking, if sun were to come beating in here, the tiles would expand and we'd have bowing in the floor.
We only have about a 1/16 gap, so.
Yeah, well, normally I cut it tighter. I measure tighter than that. But somewhere around between pressure fit, like where you're having to stomp it in there, and where it's at here, I think is the way to go.
Yep.
All right, so this one's a little more complicated because we have an L to cut out. There we go. Now we got that funky thing to deal with on the door jamb. All right, so now you can see this is where it gets gnarly. We got to cut in the closet here.
So how I would do it, how I like to do it, is just hold it up like this, get it square with this edge.
Mm-hmm. So now you need to notch that.
Yeah, we're going to notch this out of here, right? Mm-hmm. But we've also got casing that runs at an angle either way, right?
Yeah.
So what I try to do is bring it to the inside, the smallest width that I'm going to cut out, right? For the main section. I'll go back, cut that out, and then I'll come and trim for the taper of the casing. And then, because we're going to have to basically notch it out and have it come back up against the baseboard here. And then we also are going to have to cut, this is probably going to be one of the most complicated cuts we make because there's a lot going on. We got to get around the door jamb, make it around the casing, come back into the baseboard, and then cut an angle for that piece there.
Yeah.
Off this right here. So what I want to do first is cut this notch out. We'll get it close, then we can measure off, get it cut, fitted in place, cut this off for the 45 wall, and then we'll trim for the casing. That sound good?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll do this, measure how far we can come back. 13 1/8.
All right, let's chat a little bit about hose reels, get the hose reels set up here. See if I can get these off without making a huge mess. I like to debadge my hose reel first. But this is both of these are Cox hose reels, and both of them have what's called the easy coil function. That's the sticker I'm pulling off here. We'll obviously show that operation here when we get them set up on the wall. But I wanted to set it up, show you how to do that, talk a little bit about why we're choosing these and why we're only doing 2 of them in here, and give you a sense of what you would need to do if you were going to do a hose reel like this in your garage. So this reel here is a custom version of one of their more common ones. I think it's a PLP 350 is the model on this. We send it with I have them build it with a different spring that will be appropriate for this slightly heavier Prevost Stowflex hose that we're going to use, which is nitro rubber. And the first iterations of this, I just didn't have the right size, have it set up properly where I had the right size spring on it so it didn't retract as smoothly as I'd like. But this will hold a 50-foot hose. I have Prevost custom spec these hoses with a 1/4 inch outlet, but a 3/8 inch inlet. That way we don't need any kind of reducer or adapter here on the inlet swivel. So I want to try to avoid having extra fittings if I can help it. And so since we can dictate what size fitting to put on the end of the hose, I mean, we might as well. This reel needs to be pre-wound, so we need to wind it up before we put the hose on. And let's see if I can do this right. The last time I made a video of me setting up my Cox hose reel at HQ, I did it backwards. You got to see me yelling at the screen. For your sake, let's hope I do it wrong. So I'll leave all this on here. I don't know, I kind of like the idea of pulling this off too. What my aspirations are, I'm actually going to visit Cox in February, I think mid-February. So I'm going to go out to Arizona where they're headquartered, and we're going to talk to them about me being able to send my Prevost Stowflex hose, have them preloading it. That way you won't have to do it. Let's debadge our power cord reel as well. So the power cord reel, there's no assembly. Another thing I'd like to do is to put my Miltech Industries, the OG ProLock cord. I'd like to put that on here as well pretty soon. And I want to make that exclusive to me so that the goofballs who copy everything I do can't do that. So in Ed's garage, he's not going to be using big impacts and right angle cutters, and he's not going to be doing a lot of a lot of crazy stuff in the garage. That's why I spec'd. We had room to fit a giant compressor if we wanted to, but I spec'd a 2 horsepower, which is again probably more than he needs. But I spec'd you know, a nicely equipped Jenny compressor that Mike and I are going to set up here in a little bit. We don't need hose reels all over the place. Plus, we don't have attic access in a lot of this area, so we can't just load it up with hose reels all over the place. So instead, we're going to keep it simple and do one next to each other. Mike already built us a plate over there that we're going to mount it to. It's going to look super clean. Both of these are 50 foot, so we ought to be able to reach the whole garage, no problem, or at least 90% of it. And he's going to use it for filling tires and blowing, you know, maybe occasionally put an air tool or a blow gun on the end of this. First thing I'm going to do is wind this up. And you'll know which way it goes because it clicks one way, the other way it doesn't, right? And so we need to preload the spring. They say it unloaded so it doesn't come unloaded in shipping. And you just keep winding basically until it stops clicking. If you don't do this, put the hose on, then it's not going to retract. But if you don't know the Cox story, if this is the first time you're encountering this because we're doing the VinWiki garage here, I was searching SEMA 3 years ago, trying to find like the hose reel. There's a couple of products I was really looking for, but because I intended at my garage to put 4 hose reels. One of my visions or dreams was to have a hose reel at each corner of a scissor lift. That way I could grab air in order to use pneumatic polishing tools or air tools. You know, I know electrics have made air tools a little less useful, but I still like air tools. Mainly because I always wanted them, and so I'm gonna get them. And so I wanted to have hose reels on all 4 corners. I knew of, you know, Real Craft, and that was the brand I was gonna try to pursue. But I thought there might have been something a little bit better. And if you ever go look at the, you know, how they roll the steel and how the barrels are set up on like one of these easy coil reels versus a Real Craft, it's just a nicer, American-made, super high quality reel that I think it checks all the boxes. And then the biggest thing, and you know, there are other reels that have this, but the biggest thing about this that I fell in love with at SEMA, and we'll show you operation, is how it coils. So these easy coil version, so the spring is loaded such that when we start to retract the hose, it doesn't just whip into it. It slowly and in a controlled fashion winds the hose in, which is, I think, a far superior way to do it.
I forgot to put, I think I boxed this one. You should never let me box anything.
But I forgot to put you need a protector for the hose. So I'm gonna wind this and have it ready to go. We're gonna mount it later today, and then we'll put the hose in when it gets there. I just call my dad, had him send me what we need. So I'll set up the other end of the hose here, and then I'll get my barb fitting. We're also waiting for I forgot to spec out a whip hose. So that should be here today. We sent that a couple days ago. Okay, so that means it's totally wound, so let's back it off, find where the spring clicks, and we lock it. So now it's wound. It's wound and ready to go. And so this barb fitting, the way it's gonna go is the hose will come out of the hole here, but see, it's sharp-ish. And so you need to put a spring around the edge of the hose so that it doesn't cut the hose, go in constant operation. And they give you a clamp for both sides. So the hose will come out, snake around at a nice 90-ish radius, and the 3/8 inch end here will screw into this side of the swivel. Now the outlet here is going to be set up with a 3/8 inch. So this is a 3/8 inch NPT. We'll tape this, mount that. We'll clamp on a whip hose. So we'll do an ear clamp with the ear clamp protector. So we'll just leave these sitting here. We're finishing the Swisstrax. Mike's working on all the intricate cuts in the closet there And then we'll be working on the compressor probably this afternoon after I want to finish up this room. Good news is we got our countertop for here. So that's good. And so we got ear protector. And what you do is a little lick, get it on there, get it past that. We're doing all right on our amount of stuff. So the point of this thing here, this is what's called an ear clamp protector. Now this is a press-on or clamp-on fitting. I'm gonna redo this. So this type of fitting doesn't need an ear clamp, but this protector is designed to work with one of these. You know, you'll see it when we do the whip hose. We'll make it and do some more protectors. But what I wanna do is we've got our standard 1/4 inch Prevost S1 coupler, swiveling coupler, but it's not a fluid swivel, so it's a single piece rather than a multi-piece aluminum body. If you ever buy a hose from us, we're always going to torque it down nice and tightly so it doesn't leak. And so if you ever need to remove it, you would just do the reverse of this. But lay your wrench on a table if you don't have a vise, which we don't here, and we're going to work against the wrench that's laying on the table. And this one's a little wobbly, but like if you ever buy a pressure washer hose and you need to change the coupler, use your bench as leverage. And go get some wrenches. Don't use some freaking, like I was just about to use channel locks. Don't use channel locks and vice grips and all this other bull crap. Get some proper wrenches. It won't take you long to go to Home Depot. Everybody has a Home Depot within a few miles of their house. Go there, get the right stuff. Okay, that's good enough. So then we'll take our ear clamp protector and I'll pull it up and over, and it makes a nice clean looking setup. Does that look good? I think it looks freaking sweet. And that's our hose setup. So we'll wait for, it'll be later in the week, but we'll wait to put the hose on the reel at the end. And again, we have our 3/8 inch end, little thread into our hose reel. All right, well, Mike's finishing up the closet over there. I want to finish up the cabinets. So, because I bought these, I'm gonna open up the cellophane. Ed doesn't have to know about that. He might watch some of these videos back. So this is a 1/2 inch, 3/8 and 1/4 inch all in one 33 inch drawer, 33.3. So I will generally do the bigger batch of 1/2 inch, you know, so the drawers, like if you buy my recommended kit, I would do a much bigger batch of tools. Of like 1/2 inch. I did the full 1/2 inch drawer, so this whole drawer would be filled with 1/2 inch. And then the whole drawer, I'd have another whole drawer of 1/4 inch, a whole another drawer of 3/8. But this is a smart way to do it if you want to keep the budget under control, or if you're, you know, like Ed's not going to be wrenching on cars as much as I am. So this is a good option. So check that out. Oh man, so good. So freaking good. And we got the cabinets coming. So I told them the wrong cabinets. So Trevor, OG follower who works for Delta, he helped me on the original Sonic tour with some video and kind of chauffeured me around. So he's gonna come up this afternoon with the cabinets that we're putting over on the other side. Here's drawer number 2 with all our wrenches. So these are, I've fallen in love with these. They're a little fat on the end, but that's why there's a good combination to have the fat ones and the skinny ones. But these are ratcheting, really stout, really nice. These are my favorite, I think my favorite Sonic tool are these. I probably use them more than anything. These also come in handy. I forget what they call these things. Let's unwrap this. So again, up until the end of April, the Sonic guys were gracious enough to give me some sort of value prop to you. And so if you buy a cabinet array like this, so if it's $7,500 worth of cabinets or more, then you get $2,000 of tools, which is about what Ed has here, about $2,000 worth of tools. And what we're hoping is you buy a lot more tools than $2,000. But man, look at that. That's freaking awesome. It gets me so fired up. All right, let's unbox these two. I'm not trying to sales pitch on you, even though I am. I'm gonna do an update video soon on my cabinet array with all the tools. And so each one comes with a inventory checklist as well. And then we decided, you know, because Ed'll be doing a lot of little home projects, things like that. We also got him 2 drawers of SAE tools. I actually like these the best because they have the nifty looking little red inserts behind it. Oops. All right, so what I'm doing is there's a magnet here, and magnet on the bottom. What you do is you pry back. So on the magnet, see these little clip thingies? So when you pull back the little band, so you stick a screwdriver in here, twist, and then it pops out. And then we can switch sides. So just have like a little flat blade screwdriver, just tuck it into that slot. And there's also little rubber feet. This helps make it so that I like all these little things that they do, little touches that make it so that the door doesn't bang metal on metal. Unbox our countertop. So countertops, they have the individual sizes, the 33 and the 26, but then they have a 53 and an 80, a 68, I believe, and an 86. So stainless countertops versus wood. I think I'm starting to prefer wood more and more, but you know, in photos and stuff, stainless is freaking awesome. Dang, these things are solid. This kind of pulls the whole cabinet array together. And then don't forget, there's some hardware in the box. And that's with all of these boxes, don't forget, get your hardware. So then what I have to do, I have to take the top 2 drawers out. All right, last of the last steps for the cabinets. Put on our toe kicks. This just makes it look complete. So we have a 26-inch, 34-inch, and then you have side skirts as well. So each one of these comes with one for the front, that's the long one, and they come with one for the side, right there. Generally, you're gonna have cabinet up against something, or you're gonna have more than one cabinet, so you don't need 2 sides, you need just one. So these are rather simple. I'm gonna take your board, a Phillips head, 2 stainless screws that they provide. So don't get ahead of yourself and throw away screws, because they give you the appropriate amount for this. And notice, Swisstrax, I just dropped the screw, it didn't fall through. 99% of screws don't fall through, so I wouldn't worry about it. I get it if you have apprehensions if you're never gonna buy it. You gotta have some excuse for why. But for the rest of us, I deal in realities. Instead of coming up with an excuse why I don't like a 918, because I'm not getting a 918, at least not anytime soon. I don't even want a 918. I don't make excuses for why I don't like a 918. So don't be that way. So that's it. 2 screws, done. I think I can sneak this one in. So there we go, Sonic tools, Sonic cabinets. Nice, really, really nice setup. So good. Obviously the hose rails won't stay there, but remember this door is not centered. It's off to the right. So this whole doorway area, because there's a stem wall behind the right cabinets. So that's why we needed the 24 and the 226s to make it fit. All right, so Mike's finishing up here. You can see everything looks nice and clean. This closet's all done. That's all set up. All right, so the other thing we got for this build are some stainless shelves. A couple of 72s. This is how they come. They come in a box, obviously, and they come all nice and pretty wrapped like this. You can order these in whatever you want, whatever size you want. You know, I have some common sizes on the site, but whatever you need, we can get. This is T304. You could also do 416L to save a little bit of money. And they also do it in 316 if you needed some chemical resistance. I think in my future garages, I think I'm gonna do it in 416, even though it costs, you know, 50, 60% more. because you know your bottles always leave like chemical etching on your shelves. But man, these things look so clean. These guys do so well. I buy these from a company out of North Carolina. They make me anything I want. Any kind of countertops, anything. So what I might start doing is having them make our countertops for us, for people who don't want seams. Look at that, beautiful brush. This is so nice. So that's a 72 by 8, I believe is what I did. And so I did 4 of these, and then they come with the little triangles. And I did 4 32 by 8s. And these are the little triangles that hold the shelf. But we'll be mounting these later. I just wanted to show you how they came since I was unboxing them. All right, this is the very last piece of a very large floor. And so it's say 900 square feet.
Yeah, yeah, because it's got a kick out over there.
Yeah, so this is the very last piece. So notice how he did a little relief cut there, because there's such a strong pitch. And I'll show you later how we remedy that pitch. So that's the end of our very, very large flooring project in the main section here. I'm sure I'll probably capture some additional footage. We have to cut the edges on the single bay there and the single bay on the other side. As you saw us lay those out, Ed and I did, which is super, so those are super simple. So we'll probably do those tomorrow. But yeah, flooring is done. Now remember, dirt goes under it. You know, when we're getting all kinds of dust and dirt all over the place, so the dirt goes under it. That's a good thing. So think about this the opposite of what your mind is headed toward. It's good for the dirt to go under it. That way you can vacuum it when you get to it, instead of having to vacuum it all the time to keep it looking clean. When you have things like salt and snow and water, remember it's channeled. All that stuff will run underneath it. You know, you may need to pop some tiles out around springtime in order to get it cleaned up, but you could easily do that with a pressure washer, so don't worry about that. You may want to pull up the tiles just to spray out the salt at the end of the season, so you don't end up with those issues. But you saw you can carry some pretty sharp angles. You can sort of line it however you need to. There's a drain in the middle of this floor here. I could even see the pitch of the floor running down. We can carry some of those, and again, we'll show you some of the other tricks that we'll do to make sure that we keep the front down. We're going to put some tap cons with some washers. We're going to paint them gray so you can't see them. But anyway, the Swisstrax flooring's done, so Mike and I are going to go work on the Jenny compressor, getting that all set up and roughed in. We have one more piece that we're waiting for my dad to get here, but yeah, Swisstrax flooring in the main section is done. We're going to keep working. Ooh, where'd you get those peanuts? You buy those from Walmart? Snack time? Snack time? I'm in dangerous territory right now, dude. I'm going to be freaking door dashing some delicious treats.